The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip. No.
I'm CJ. Now you can hear me.
There we go. And it's Friday.
And to our viewers, I am trying to fix the earbuds. Thank you. Oh, God, what a week, what a week, what a week.
Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Here we are in the Riv.
So, a couple of reviews of our budget, which, by the way, the mayor released another 62 pages. Contrary to what Councilor Pereira has been saying, she says it's about 20 pages. It's actually 62 pages.
And more to come.
Yeah, probably more to come.
Probably more to come.
Probably more to come. But one of the things I started doing was I started trying to figure out how he got 101% on school department net school spending. And again, smoke and mirrors, and let's do the curly shuffle here. He took the SRO, the school resource officers, they were paid for by a grant, and the school department never had to pay for those. So they were always picked up on the city side because the city had a grant for it. Well, the grant ran out, so in the next fiscal year, the city's going to have to pay for it. Well, he shifted that cost to the school department. Hence your 1% increase over net school spending. So there's not really any new spending for education.
Or for any new programs.
Or for any new programs or anything along that line. So it's only new spending for an old service. And that's exactly what it is. It's an old service.
Well, you know what that again reinforces the old adage that figures don't lie, but liars can figure.
Yeah,
you know, they can manipulate figures, and so it's just like when the mayor goes on and says there are no new fees, even though all the other fees have been drastically increased. The taxes have been increased to its maximum rate. Then he's going to go try to get the taxpayers to ask for an override. And the fact is that, look, all these projections for next year and everything else are inflated. This budget is a sham from the beginning. Yet he says my figures are perfect. You know, in his world, there's nothing but perfection.
Yeah, there's always perfection for those who are kind of delusional. But the bigger problem I have here is that with all of this diversionary bull, all of this diversionary malarkey, I want to bring up a little history. Let's go back to Eddie Lambert. Do you remember $1 million added to the budget?
Well, I remember a lot with Eddie Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
And with all the other mayors that I had.
Exactly.
With, so.
But Eddie Lambert tried to put in $1 million of revenue in the budget that never became manifest.
Yeah, magic money.
Magic money.
Magic money.
Right, magic. And I think Lou Pacheco coined that. Yeah, yep, it's magic money.
It's magic money.
That's right. It's magic money.
It just appears.
It just appears. They got that's what's down at the tree farm. It's the money trees. They just go down there and they harvest. You know.
Yeah. But it's actually the skeletons of the taxpayers that they're harvesting.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
They're selling body parts. It's rather scary. But my concern is that he's got revenues in here that we don't even have yet. He's got money in there for the marijuana projects. His argument is that he gets that money even if they don't go forward. Well, if they don't go forward and they don't have any money, how can you guarantee that you're going to get the money?
I guess the same way that that theater they were bringing in that hasn't paid their rent in Rhode Island is going to come to Fall River and pay their rent in Fall River. I don't understand. You know, if you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it. If this is the whole thing that really fascinates. It's an election year. I'm calling this budget Flanagan 2.0 because we all remember when we had an $8 million deficit with Will Flanagan's budget. And that budget was predicated on nothing happening that we knew was going to happen, like pay raises, like the closing of the landfill, and numerous other things, which were all defined in the recall on why he didn't prepare. And now we have a budget which is like trying to read Chinese when you're not fluent in Chinese and you can't read it. We have so many things that are over budgeted, and we will do a special on this. But for example, the retirement contribution. Retirement contributions in there, it's lower than the figure specified by PERAC. And the city's answer, when questioned by the executive director of the retirement board, is, oh, the other money is coming in from enterprise funds and some other things. And we know there are, you can mix it up, but it's still all city money. And there are federal monies that come in because there are people that work for the federal government, CDA, et cetera, that they have to contribute to the fund because their employees are in our fund. But the problem is, the question I asked at the last retirement board meeting to Mr. Gupta is, why isn't that final figure there? And he said, oh, and then the answer to the director was, oh, well, on page 7, you've got the enterprise funds. On page 287, you've got this. And so you got to go, 280 pages away, there's another number. But where's the total? The only number that's there says the city is contributing $24 million. That is not enough. And I told Mr. Gupta, well, why didn't you take your enterprise fund money and you can put an asterisk or whatever you want alongside, and just line up everything that's going to be part of that, and then put a number that people can follow, and this way we're assured of it. I had an expert review the budget, and he said that enterprise fund money was basically listed as a revenue source. So we don't know if that money is actually in the 24 or it's to be added to the 24 million, because they don't say it in the budget. It's like your guess is as good as mine budget. And, like CJ said, this is smoke and mirrors. We're setting ourselves up for a major deficit next year because we cannot project a 14%, for example, in excise tax. We can't project 14% increase in revenues coming in from excise taxes unless we've got some basis on it. Have we had 10,000 new cars registered in the city? I doubt it.
No, we've got one new party bus.
We've got one new party bus, yeah. And have we collected like 105 or 110% of what we have in this year's budget? No, we have that we have collected less than we anticipated. So that's like saying we're going to take the 100% projection in this year's budget, of which we've only collected like 66% so far.
If that.
And we're going to project next year at 114%. So it's ludicrous. And I mean, what happens when this happens? Because people go, oh, well, what's the difference? It's just like the numbers and they'll find the money. No, that's when they run out of money, because when you project, it's like you saying, well, guess what? I was supposed to be getting $500 a week and I got a $100 a week pay cut. So next year I'm going to figure my salary is $800 a week. Well, guess what? You're going to run out of money.
No.
You're going to run out of money because you projected you're going to have all this revenue, and then when it doesn't come in, and then you go on, and it's an election year, and you say how wonderful this budget is. If the budget was so wonderful, why did you need to eliminate one of the health care plans so you could save money?
How come you can't pay for stamps?
How come you can't pay for stamps? How come most of these department heads are told not to use any overtime?
Right.
Because there's no money around in the city. So there's no money around in the city, so this budget is going to increase drastically with all these pay raises and jobs he's giving up. And we're going to project covering that cost by overestimating what the money we're going to get in. So what's that mean? That means at the end of the year, you're going to run out of money. It's like giving a department $500,000 for overtime in next year's budget to show that you don't have that much of a liability when every year they use $1.5 million in overtime. Well, guess what? When you overestimate how much money you have and underestimate how many bills you have, guess what happens to you and I?
We're
Not to the
bankrupt.
city, because you know what the city will do? Oh, me, oh, my, we're short. We're going to have to lay people off. You people are going to pay more taxes. Guess what? We're going to have to bond some more and put us deeper in debt. And guess what? We're getting very, very close to that precipice. We're going to fall off it into receivership very, very soon. And it's not going to be long down
Well,
the road.
the mayor says we're nowhere near receivership.
Oh, yeah, well.
Okay, we're nowhere near it. And you know what? He's the mayor. I will say he's probably full of it. But I will say this. You know, this child, I will not call him a man, this child throws so many tantrums over this budget, over the statements that are made. There are threats. I got another audio tape of him threatening a citizen. A citizen. I mean, are you that stupid that you're going to leave a voicemail with threats on it? I told this person he should go and file a criminal complaint. And because, you know, you cannot throw tantrums. You cannot run to the radio station every time somebody says, no, Mr. Mayor, the sky is green, it's not blue, you're wrong, you're lying. And they hang up, and you call, and you gotta defend yourself so vehemently. You look like a child throwing a tantrum. Now, you made a statement on the air, Mr. Mayor, very clearly. You said it on WHTB with former city councilor Al Alves. I've known Al for many years. Al served on the city council for a long time. And you turned around and you stated, Mr. Mayor, that the city council is raising the water and sewer fees. No, Mr. Mayor, you are raising the water and sewer fees. And when Al Alves told you, no, Mr. Mayor, the mayor proposes, the city council disposes. Again, we're in that area where he's partially right, but he's partially wrong. You know what I mean? It's that diatribe here. So what happens is, he then comes back and says, no, Terry Sullivan proposed it. Really? Terry Sullivan proposed it. So you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Mayor. You didn't put it in your budget. It's your budget, Mr. Mayor. Terry Sullivan works for you. And then, to justify it, what was the way we justified it, Chip? How do we justify everything? How do we justify everything? Oh, we're going to have layoffs that you can't believe. We're going to be in trouble. We're not going to be able to provide water and sewer services.
Yeah, we can't do the pipes. But listen, you know, this is again shows how Fall River is always grossly mismanaged, and nobody holds these people accountable. There are no consequences. You know, former councilor Al Alves was not only a city councilor who ran for mayor, who basically predicted what was going to happen with the Flanagan administration.
Right.
Because he was also a businessman in the city for a very, very long time, and a successful businessman. So the man knows how to run a budget and not run out of money, because he would not have been a businessman that long and be running a profit-making business if he didn't understand the dynamics and the economics.
Unlike the mayor, who's never run a profit.
Exactly, and also who runs a business that has no consequences for running out of money, because the net taxpayers just get hammered again. And as you said, what does the head of a business do? You go down to the department and you say, okay, give me your budget. And you look over the budget and you go, geez, what's this increase? Well, why wasn't this addressed at some point in time during the last fiscal year? Why are these things always, every year there's a crisis in these departments where they have to increase the fees? That's so they can skim money later on from rob Peter to pay Paul. Listen, you know, the fact is that we've been hearing the same, I mean, how many times have we seen the water department come in a month after the budget and ask for a fee increase that wasn't in the budget?
That's right.
But, you know, the ironic part, as I said, like I said, this budget is a joke. You want to see a budget, you know, you all go on Facebook, so you probably got a computer or even your iPhone you can get on. Go and open up the Newton budget. You know something? You don't have to be a CPA and a magician and have a roadmap to read that budget. You don't see their retirement contribution on page 7 and on page 287 and on page whatever and all over the budget, and then they expect you to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It's a mystery. You need a guide to get through the. If you go to the Newton budget, you see this is what we plan to do in the water department last year. This is what we did. If one thing wasn't accomplished, there's an explanation as to why. And then everything that department needs is in the next fiscal year's budget. It's all there. This is what the water department, now except for unforeseen, you know, I mean, if the city's water mains blow up, you're going to have to spend money. But everything that the department has on its agenda, and that's what a department head gets paid to do. He knows what his fixed cost, he knows what his costs are. That's what he gets paid to do. Project these costs, look at these costs, factor in things, and come down with a budget. And guess what? If the water department in Newton goes back to the city council a month after the budget and says, well, I've got to do this, this, and this, and it's not an emergency, it was something that existed when that budget was formulated, they're not going to get the money. And that department head is probably going to be canned, because this is what happens in Fall River. They don't care if they're competent, income. I mean, just look at the hiring practices. 6 years with no job. The guy was an ice house guard. He gets a job too as a department head. And then they wonder why these people come in and there's no consequences. They come in later and they add stuff that are supposed to be in the budget. Our budget is supposed to be a document which addresses everything that we are going to experience in FY18 within reason. Obviously, if there's a catastrophe and there are new costs, you can say, okay, we have to realize that we could not have anticipated this. But that's what a department head gets paid to do. You know, the fire chief knows when he needs trucks. He knows what the age of those trucks are. The police chief knows he needs cars. The water department knows what should be on their radar for this year. And they're making 6 figures in many cases. Why can't they come up with a budget? Because nobody cares. They come up and now who's left again? It's screw you, double screw you, and triple screw you, taxpayer. Because guess what? Your water bill is going to go through the roof again, and everything's going to go, and the mayor's going to go, it's not my fault, I didn't do it. Well, here's the question I want all the citizens to ask, and I'm waiting for the city council to ask this question during the budget hearings. I want them to look straight in Mary Sahadi's eyes and say, you're saying that these were proposed by the water department head, and they were proposed by the city council's responsible? Let's say I say no. I want to spend exactly the same amount of money we did last year. Whose budget is this? Who put these numbers here? Did you do it, Ms. Sahadi? Yes. And you did it for who? The mayor. This is the mayor's budget. And I don't care who recommended him. That's what you do when you get to be mayor. You don't get to ride around in your police car going up one ways and putting your lights on. That's not what being a mayor is. Being a mayor is making the tough decisions. Being a mayor is saying, hey, look, I'm sorry. We cannot spend this kind of money this year. We're going to have to prioritize, and we're only going to have to do what's necessary, and I want you to go back and tighten your belt on this budget. But you know what they say? Screw it. Let's give everybody $33,000 pay raises, and we'll just go back and rape and pillage the taxpayers
That's
for
right,
another year.
because the mantra of Fall River is...
Screw you, taxpayer!
And you know what we got to get for the shows after the budget, if they approve this budget? We got to get that old Depression song and play it, and should become the new theme song of Fall River. It was called Buddy, Can You Spare a Dime?
Yeah.
That's right. That was it. You know, and it was once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time.
Yep.
You know, and Buddy, Can You Spare a Dime?
Here's the bigger problems with this. He's screaming, ranting, and raving about his Streetscapes program. Every department is down to bare minimums. Streetscapes is going to add trees and plant pots and beautify the streets and make everything wonderful and fix the facades and the infrastructure. Fixing the facades mean fixing the mayor's political whores' buildings, giving them new fronts. That's what that means, at your dime. But here's the problem I have. We can't even maintain the trees we have in this city now. Do you know how many people work on trees in Fall River?
2?
3.
Oh, I was off.
2 in the cemetery, 1 in the reservation. And most of these guys are senior guys, so when they get their vacations, we got nobody to fix the problem. We have dead trees around the city that we can't even take down.
Well, I can tell you one thing, CJ. You're a nurse, and you understand what triage is.
That's right.
And we have to triage this city. We have to prioritize. When you triage patients, you look at patients and you categorize them in the order you need to be treated. Well, you know something? Purchase Street, number one, we're going to put facades on buildings for businesses in a city that nobody has any money to buy anything.
Right.
And businesses perennially fail. So rather than putting the lipstick on the pig, heaven forbid that a mayor would actually say, you know something? Maybe we should fix the city streets for the taxpayers who are footing the bill, and maybe somebody who comes to Fall River, one of those rare people that might come here to buy a house, in spite of all these issues that we have, and he goes down to look at a house, and then the street in front of the house looks like he's in Fallujah. And it's like, we've got streets that are deplorable all over this city, but the mayor will earmark money to fix a street that's one of the better streets, actually, condition-wise. Because why? Because he's got his friends. He lives on that street. He's got his friends there. And this crap of, this stuff works. It doesn't work. We've proved it. We had articles. They wrote books about. We had a book that this crap does not work.
Right.
It helps the tourist industry in places like Miami and San Francisco. But you don't see streetscapes working in Lowell, in Lawrence, in Brockton, in cities in difficult economic straits like Fall River. If you take a city that's in the lower third of the socioeconomic range, whether it's in Massachusetts or anywhere, if you take Flint, Michigan, if you take any place in Iowa or Ohio or in the Midwest, you get communities that's economy is fundamentally collapsed, high unemployment, no jobs, no money, people living below the poverty level. Streetscapes doesn't work. Miami was rated as one of the worst cities in the United States. Guess what? It's one of the best cities in the United States to visit. If you got the money to pay $500 a night for a hotel room at the Fontainebleau, and you want to go down to South Beach and party, Miami's a great town. And that's why people said, even the Herald News, the ridiculousness said, I don't know how they could call Miami. Miami's a great city. It's a great city to visit. not a great city to live in, just like Honolulu is a great city to visit. Take a ride outside of Honolulu up the road and look at the people living in tin shacks on the outside of Honolulu.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
You know, and it's like, but this is the key. This is all crap. We do not need more promises of, it's going to get better. We need solutions to the problems that we face today in the city of Fall River.
Well, and here's a couple of comments that were made, because we're running out of time here. So Steve Camara turned around and said, well, Fall River is a gateway city. We should take them all in. Let's bring them all here. We just got 93 people increasing our population, all who don't work, all who are on some form of public assistance, some are even homeless. But we got 93 more people. That's a wonderful thing for the mayor to tout. And Steve Camara wants us to be a gateway city, to be the gateway, so the people in the suburbs come to Fall River. The people in the suburbs escaped Fall River. It's like a movie. Escape from New York, escape from Fall River. Okay? You even have a radio personality. Very well known. Works on the other side of the bridge. Now he lives on the other side of the bridge. But he touts how Fall River is so wonderful. It's so wonderful, but he had to get out of Dodge as fast as he could. And then you have Steve Long sitting there turning purple because they're taking away the streetscapes. Because that was his committee. That was his committee. And he didn't represent the people. None of these people are representing the people. That's the problem. And when you talk to them, you got certain city councils who are going, oh no, EMS has to be group 4. And won't bend, won't even look at it. They're in just as much danger. They can get AIDS or they can get hepatitis because they're dealing with needles. So are nurses. So are visiting nurses. So are school teachers. Let's just make everybody group 4. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's, look.
But who cares? Who cares if the pension system can handle it? Who cares? Because you know what? You guys that are just coming into the system now and you're paying into the pension system, guess what? When you retire, it may not be there for you. You may get a half of what you were expecting. Yeah. And you're not going to get what you were expecting from Social Security because that's cut too.
Yeah,
so remember, every time they say make somebody group 4 or add somebody else to the pension, remember, that's coming out of your pocket. Well, not today, but it is.
Look, in a perfect world, everybody could have an early retirement and a lot of money. It could be like Sweden, where you get 110% of your working salary when you retire.
Right.
But the reality is, when I went to the national convention, I saw pictures of people standing with signs saying, "Don't cut my pension. Don't destroy my pension system," when they don't even realize that they were contributors to the destruction of that pension. Every time the state gives out early retirement, it's a great thing for the people that are retiring early.
Right.
But the people who are coming on, as you said, the young guys today are looking, and the unfunded liability will be out of control. And ultimately, even though the government and city government and state government are responsible for many of these things, when the system goes down, they take it out on the people in the system. They will cut your benefits. They're not going to stand up in a state legislature and say, it was our fault that this pension system collapsed because we gave all these early retirement packages and stuff, and we gave all these other people change their categories and stuff. They're going to just say, hey, the system's too damn expensive. We've got to cut the benefits like they did in Rhode Island.
Right.
It's not like they haven't done it before. Wake up and smell the roses. You can't continue you've got to have some sense of and some fiduciary responsibility. As someone on a board, the first thing we always look at is try to protect the pension system, not for the people only for the people who are in the system now, but for these young guys who later on, we want them to get a full and adequate pension. So
I hear.
Stay angry, and I'll tell you what, I'll see you guys next Friday.
Yeah, you're not going to be here Monday and Wednesday, so we'll see you next Friday, people. Have a great weekend. Enjoy.